Hello and welcome to this special interactions. We are once again Paranjoy Guha Thakurtha, the senior economic affairs journalist of India, who has, of course, has an international reputation, especially as somebody who has been probing the affairs of the Adani group of companies and exposing many of their misdemeanors across the globe. Paranjoy, welcome back to these interactions.
Thank you so much, Venkitesh. Thank you to all the viewers of this program.
So basically, we had interacted last in December 2024. In fact, the second week of December 2024, and of course, we had this very major ruling at that time from the US on the Foreign Corrupt Practices, on the basis of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, and
another law.
Yeah.
Which has not been talked about. Yes, surely there was an indictment of Mr. Gautam Adani and his associates and his nephew.
Yeah.
But there were two laws.
Yeah.
One was, of course, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act of 1977, which was put in place when recently departed President Jimmy Carter was the President of the United States of America.
Right.
But there was another act. It's called the United States Securities Act of 1934. So there were the indictment and the offenses, the very serious allegations against Mr. Adani, his nephew Sagar Adani, and others, his associates, are under both these.
But the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act has been kind of put on hold by the new Donald Trump regime. And at that point itself, I had asked this question. I remember asking this question whether the close relationship that Donald Trump has with our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who actually went and campaigned for him, not in this election, in the last election, which he lost, ab ki baar Trump sarkar karke.
A little more than 4 years ago.
Yeah. So basically, I had asked you this question, and you had said that the US system, the jurisprudence is not as easily breakable as the Indian situation. Do you think that you were a little too optimistic?
No, I still stand by what I said. Let's go over the facts.
Okay.
On the 10th of February, 2025,
right,
the President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, he issued an executive order, among many executive orders.
Okay.
But this specific executive order said that the headline is the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, its enforcement and the related enforcement actions are going to be suspended for 180 days, approximately 6 months.
Okay.
That means there would be no new investigations or enforcement actions. It says nothing about the older ones. That's the first point.
Right.
Secondly, the Attorney General, who heads the Department of Justice, in that executive order, it's written, the Attorney General can determine an exception.
Okay.
And the Attorney General would review guidelines and policies governing investigations and enforcement actions. Now, let's take a few steps back. Donald Trump has been against the FCPA not today for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what he used to earlier articulate through his statements and media interactions has today been put down in writing in that executive order. It says that the American foreign policy is inextricably linked with American companies, their economic competitiveness, and therefore national security, American national security. What he's argued or what he's claimed in that executive order is that it is over expansive, unpredictable, and the enforcement of the laws have used what has been described as limited prosecutorial resources of the government. Now, on an average, since 1977, there have been 36 such investigations every year. So, let's see what happens, how these guidelines and enforcement actions are changed, and more importantly, whether this becomes law. Because right now, it's an executive order. It's akin to an ordinance, if you want to draw an analogy to what's happening in India.
Yeah.
Now, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act was always contentious because it extends to foreign companies and individuals who can be anywhere across the world, but so long as, for instance, their actions affect securities, financial securities that are listed in the stock exchanges of the United States. Now, it's not just that. One of the charges against the Adani Group is that it's called wire fraud. What is wire fraud? That means if you have used the email system within America or from America to outside, and you put out information that could be considered to be misleading for investors, so that applies to you, the act applies to you, and it also applies to agents, intermediaries. Now let's go back. What actually are the charges? It's a grand jury indictment in New York, in the court of Brooklyn. It's not one judge or a panel of judges. It's a jury. The jury could include all kinds of people. It could include a professor, it could include an engineer, it could be from different people from different walks of life. They asked to appear for jury duty. Anyway, so what happened was, if you look at it in terms of the chronological sequence, on the 17th of March 2023, special agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, that comes directly under the Department of Justice. The Attorney General is the head of the Department of Justice, and the Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation comes under the Attorney General. Now, they had what is called a judicially authorized search warrant, and they seized the personal electronic devices of Gautam Adani's nephew, Sagar Adani. 13th of March 2023. Now, a year later, the Adani Group, they had floated financial instruments, but this was not mentioned, that the FBI and then later the Securities and Exchange Commission were investigating the group.
Now, so this was not mentioned at all.
So that is what is considered to be your withholding. What could be potentially price sensitive information from potential investors. Now, what has happened is that, as I mentioned earlier, there are two laws that have been. What was the allegation? That they are allegedly offering bribes of the Gautam Adani Group over 260 or around 265 million US dollars. In Indian currency, if you convert it, it's over 2,000 crore rupees, 2,029 crore, that you've used them to bribe to get contracts from the Solar Energy Corporation of India. The question people are asking, and this is, by the way, not just me, several supporters of Mr. Trump, and I shall name them for you, they are saying, why isn't this being investigated in India? Why is this not being investigated? Why the US government acted? On the 10th
who are the supporters of Trump who have questioned this?
They are, on the 10th of February, 6 congressmen of the United States, they...
10th of February 2025?
That's right, just recently, 10th of February, before just around, the executive order came on the 10th of February, on that day in fact, the same day. Who are these people? Lance Gooden, Republican, Texas. Pat Fallon, Republican, Texas. Okay, Brandon Gill, Republican, Texas, also on a panel of the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, which is Elon Musk's the head of it. Let's move on. Brian Babin, Republican, Texas. Now, out of this out of the 6 people, there are 4 from Texas. There is Mike Haridopoulos from Florida, also a Republican. William R. Timmons, Republican, from South Carolina.
Okay.
So all these 6 congressmen are Republicans, and 4 of them are from Texas.
Okay.
So to summarize the main point, Mr. Gautam Adani and his entities and his associates and his nephew, they have got relief or apparent relief
Yeah.
for 180 days,
Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah.
But remember, that executive order says the Attorney General has the discretionary power under exceptional circumstances. Whether the Attorney General will exercise those power is another. So Adani has to wait and watch. We have to wait and watch. We'll all have to wait and watch.
So what you're saying is that this is not the final reprieve for Adani. That is
No.
what you-
And remember, what is the main? One is misleading investors. What is the other? It's bribery.
Yeah.
Bribery is a bribe, whether in India, whether in the US. Intent to bribe, it's a criminal offense. It's a bribery offense not just under the US federal laws, but even individual states like New York,
Right.
like Kerala. They have their own individual bribery laws. So let's wait and watch. You see, we have a completely new set of people who will be heading these organizations. Already we have.
No, what is happening in the US at this point of time is that the Trump 2.0, it is kind of, like a bull in a china shop. So there is a lot of dismantling happening across all sectors. So would it be wrong to kind of presume that you'll see some kind of a complete disruption in the legal system as well?
I don't know the extent to which courts will allow it. You see, the Attorney General, Trump's nominee, Pam Bondi, member of the cabinet, from the 4th of February 2025, Pam Bondi takes over charge as the head of the Department of Justice and as the Attorney General. Now, the Securities and Exchange Commission has an acting chairman. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has an acting director, because the former chair of the SEC, Gary Gensler, resigned on the 20th of January, the day Trump formally became the president of the US, and also the head of the FBI, Christopher Wray, he resigned on the 20th of January too. So all I'm saying is that we don't know what will happen. And this was to be expected. I'm not surprised at all that this is happening.
Right.
And Mr. Modi's visit to
The US.
US, where he was asked a straight question. Mr. Modi is not accustomed to answering questions from journalists, especially pointed straight questions, and especially questions on Adani. So he gave a reply that the world is our family. Every Indian is my family, not referring to Gautam Adani. And then says, when the heads of 2 governments meet, do they discuss individual cases? I mean, it was left open whether there was a discussion or not. Whether, Mr. Trump, who is known as a transactional president, whether there was something that we don't know. Right. We don't know. It's early days. As I said, we have to wait and watch. Let's wait and watch.
Right. Thank you, Paranjoy, for this illuminating conversation. The thing is, basically, you have been saying, even in December, you said that, that the process of law, we need to watch it very carefully, how it develops and unfolds.
If I may briefly add something, first difference between Indian and think, what's happening in India? You have an indictment document from the US where you have named names, you have named dates. You have said the former chief minister of Andhra Pradesh, Jagan Reddy, received bribes. He allegedly received bribes for contracts. The days Gautam Adani met him, the days Sagar Adani, nothing is happening on our side.
Right.
Nothing is happening in India. What happens in the US, we'll have to wait and watch.
Right.
So it's not judges, but a kind of like a jury. That's one thing. And we don't know where this case will go and when it will go. And I mentioned this earlier to you. For all you know, Mr. Adani may not appear in court.
Yeah.
Maybe his lawyers will work out what is called a plea bargain. That he accepts some of the allegations, but not all of them.
Right.
And pays a fine. We don't know. I'm just speculating. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is that it is too early to say that Adani has got a full reprieve. It is too early to say that, and you don't actually do. But then what you have been pointing out is that the charges which have been highlighted in the US jurisprudence system are good enough to follow up in India, because in India you have been the
bribery is an offence. Yes. Concealing information before issuance of financial instrument, that is an offence under our existing rules or under existing laws. But nothing's happening here.
Anyway, thank you, Paranjoy, because I'm sure that that you will continue to look at this Adani saga, because you have been somebody who has followed it for very many years and has come up with some major exposés on the Adani empire.
And been the recipient of defamation cases, 6 of them.
Yeah. And also the bar on certain style of writing and things like that. Which
they've tried.
Yeah.
They've tried. I don't think I'm bothered.
Right. Anyway, don't be bothered. We all look forward to interacting with you, not only on this issue, but on several other issues in the days to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Venkitesh. Thank you. Bye.